Welcome to another episode of AnecDotes. And this one is going about a topic that we have talked about before. It is about, well, we touched upon it. We didn't talk about it, we touched upon it. It's about building a team and the recipe of success and team shuffles and how those are approached. And I don't know how to start this one because there's a couple of, you can choose, okay? We can start at what happens after TIs.
Okay.
We can start at what is a recipe for a successful team.
Okay.
Or we can start at anything else you think is a better place to start at.
Oh wow, that's tough. Let's start. We can start post TI.
Post TI, because that is the place. There's a time where most shuffles happen.
But I think accurately, we would need to play some house music, and I would actually have to dance because that's what post TI is. Nothing is set in stone.
Okay.
Everybody talks to everybody. Little cliques develop.
Yeah.
Usually, the players like most in demand. It's like one of the many shuffles I've lost. I've lost like all of the shuffles I took part in. It was like post TI 5, where No Tail wanted to play with this guy Miracle.
Yes.
I don't know. Some people know who he is. He wanted to play with Tal again. Tal wanted to play with No Tail.
Yes.
And that was like the formation of the team. So it was like a nucleus, and then they added on people. So it was like Tal was in, then it's like Moon's in too, and the fifth. Crit. Yes. So there, boom. And I think Noto probably wanted to play with Crit too, because they're both Danish.
Yes.
He's Danish, right?
He is.
Yeah. So that was like an example. So what happens when you go to like previous TIs? Like Arteezy's always been in demand. Probably like back then it was kind of nuts though. It was all about like there was a post Shanghai Major shuffle I think it was, but it like took place after Dota Buff and Dota Pit where Misery and We got kicked.
Yeah.
For Universe and Arteezy. I don't know what the hell am I talking about?
Shuffles.
The point is, okay, no one really has any idea what's going on. Usually big personalities, a la the captains, aka Puppy, Kuro, Fly, will have a team most of the time, and then maybe they're trying out one player for another player, whatever. Or you have like this talented guy that everyone wants to play with, so who he goes for, you're gonna go with him. If he doesn't go with you, then you have your second option. And like a lot of the times like things are somewhat solidified, but then they aren't, and you never really know.
This shuffle starts not after TI is over, but I would imagine during TI.
Yeah, for sure. As soon as teams are eliminated, a lot of players are on to the next one. Like, okay, what's next?
Yes.
They'll have conversations with players they're interested in, maybe that night or the day after. There isn't really a break, and that's also going back to another topic about like what it takes to be a player. Like, you are never off the clock. You cannot take vacations.
You're networking.
Yes.
A TI, networking opportunity.
Definitely. And most of the time, you network just to kind of figure out what's available, what's possible. Is someone getting kicked?
Yeah.
Maybe you want that player. Maybe you can take his spot. There's so much that could go down. This last one, a big focus point of the entire shuffle and what made it kind of awkward because there were a lot of plans that involved the same player.
Yeah.
DJ, specifically. Everyone and their mother wanted to play with DJ. Abed and DJ together, that's your number one option.
Yeah.
If you're some Western player, you don't really have an idea what you want to do, that's where you would want to go. They ended up sort of combining what could have been two great teams into one super team, where you had a nucleus of DJ Abed, and then you had the Moon, Moon, Ice Ice Ice, that also could have possibly built something. You had Ice go to Fnatic, Moon stayed in Mineski, and then they picked up Jabs. Oh, that's who it was, Jabs and Ice from Mineski into Fnatic, and then they got MP as like a filler. I believe they wanted, I can't say who they had wanted. I think they wanted someone else originally, but it doesn't really matter. The teams just form. Weeha was going to leave Brazil, but he wasn't going to leave Brazil. Now he hates Brazil, now he loves Brazil. I think he's best suited. Love you, Wee. And I think the Pain guys specifically just have like a great...
Yeah, they fit together.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I hope that they find like the success that they want.
Likewise.
It's just so hard in Dota. There's so many great teams that it's kind of difficult to even discuss this. Because if you think about like me, right? Let's say I go back to playing. I get my boy BSJ. I get Bulldog. How hard is it to crack top 5? Top 10. But top 5, you got VP, OG, Liquid.
That's difficult.
EG, Secret. forward, like there's all these huge names. When you think about a player like Universe, like Resolution, and think this team isn't considered top 5 right now. I didn't even touch on TNC or China or SC, any of that.
It's difficult to have a good team.
Yeah.
And that brings me actually to the next point, because as we touched upon in a different episode, it seems like top teams, there's a lot of shuffling about, and it's always a little bit of a different roster, but there are constant factors, which are the captains.
Yes.
Puppy is always in the top.
Yep.
Kuro's always in the top. PPD is always in the top. Yep. Well, was always in the top.
I think that PPD is a product of the talent he plays with. I think in a similar way, almost all captains are. Like, I don't want to talk too much about my career, but like, I'll never really know how I would have fared were I given an opportunity to play with a Miracle.
Sure, but
an Arteezy.
That just means that they are good at finding the talent.
Exactly.
Especially,
is it the players or the captain? Like, is it the captain that makes that player great as well? Could be an option, and I could just be garbage.
The thing is, when you're talking about PPD and Puppy and Fly, all the players that they have at some point gone for, they have gone for the players that nobody else was considering. Nisha, for example, for Team Secret, he's a gem. Puppy and that guy was playing in Poland on Let's Do It for like years.
What makes Puppy great too is I'm sure he saw that gem like months before.
Yeah.
But the way it's got to work is, and this is what makes being a captain so hard, and why the top captains have now sort of solidified themselves in like positions of power, and that they're going to be top teams and nothing you can do will really stop them. Because the team you have, the team you play for right now will win TI. But at the same time, you also need to be evaluating, can these players win TI? So this is the team, but
you got to separate it. You got to still believe
that
they can do it.
But it is.
Yeah.
So I think Nisha and Zai were like 1-to-1 upgrades on the players he had previously. And they fit his style more. To your point about like how there's always shuffling, I think it was worse before, whereas now teams have sort of realized who matters as far as level talent of players, and it's easier to work with the great players than to ditch them for some minor disagreement for a good player that you're going to bank on making great, which I've tried many times and never succeeded. That could be me, could be the players.
Well,
I think there's very few great players, and those that have them aren't going to let go.
Sure, but at the same time, that's the only way that, for example, Miracle and Samil came into the scene, for Anna, for Thompson to break through. Yeah. Because one of those captains gave them a shot and decided, you know what, I'll have a couple of good players and one player that I think can be great.
Yeah, that's true. If it works, it works. The question is that player great, or is it like the setting he comes into?
Everybody has to work around it.
Mind Control was also new.
Yes.
GH was new. Yes. Right? So I think you have a combination. It's kind of funny because it's similar to the way like the NFL works, in that you need a couple unsung heroes or a rookie quarterback or something like that to make things happen, because you aren't going to get that talent in the NFL, as an example, without paying a premium unless you get lucky. The same way, you can't steal a Miracle now, but you could find a Miracle that's unknown. Yes. And that's why people try out those potentially undiscovered superstars. There's still at least 2 more out there right now floating around in the ether.
It's going to be way more than 2 too.
Probably.
Because there's at least a couple that are a Miracle-like person that don't have time to become a pro. Yeah. There's someone out there that is super good at the game, but he can only play 2 hours a week.
How about Anna? He just shows up for TI, wins it. I'm out. Had fun.
I mean, I don't blame him for that either. It's like, that's the goal, right? Winning TI. And once you get that, sure, getting 2 TIs is a noble goal. But at the same time, the struggle that it takes, I mean, you can do without.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, it's just such a hard game now, really thinking about it. And I blame those set patriarchs of the Dota scene.
Like what?
The puppies.
Why do you blame them for it being a hard game?
Because they're so good? They get these great players. Crow's got Mind Control, GH, Miracle. Like, why? He's never going to... Imatumba Man, can't forget you. Finnish superstar on the cover of some magazines out there. Like, There's not going to be as many shuffles as it was in the past. You'd have
Sure,
like
because they
all
found the
the
ones.
teams.
Unless Mind Control says, you know what? It's been fun. I'm going to play Artifact now. One TI already.
Always a possibility.
Want to win the Artifact TI.
Yeah. Hey, at the end of the day, this is what makes Dota, in my eyes, the best and also the purest esport. Is for whatever its faults, okay? How the tournament system is, how the games are, where they are, qualifiers, tournament format, blah, blah, blah. The goal of any Dota player is to win TI.
Yes.
The standard by which we judge our players is how many majors have you won, how many TIs have you won. Count the rings, right?
Count the rings.
It's not about salary. It's not about endorsements. Players don't give interviews because they don't give a shit, because what matters is winning. And whatever gets in the way of winning isn't really something you're interested in. And that means that our competition, no matter what, is always of the highest pedigree, especially when we get down to the World Championship.
Yep. And that is also why when you're talking, we talked about after parties earlier, but if you're seeing a lot of players at an after party, you know something's up. When when a whole team doesn't show, you're like, okay, you know, fair enough, they did something else, and it's normally not that hard to find something else as a team that is fun to do as well. But when there's a couple players from a team here and there, especially at TI, you're like, well, something's brooding. I saw Puppy and Zai talking over there. What's happening over there?
Yeah.
It is kind of like a telltale. I think that is, I actually underestimated how big of a part networking is for Dota 2 pro players, especially when you're a pro player that is not a miracle, because most players are not miracles, but you still need to be on the radar of the captains.
Yeah.
Somehow you can obviously do that by climbing leaderboards, but it's not that easy to do, and it's just all about putting yourself out there still. And it's weird because, you know, computer games, not very social and all that, but you have to be super social to be a pro player, or rather
yes
social in the right way.
You have to be, it depends, because the way people are usually, they play one of three roles in the formation of a team.
Yeah.
There's the builder, your Puppy, the guy that the Jupiter that's going to attract people to him.
Yeah.
You have the connectors, which are more your meteorites flying through the solar system. Maybe they find a friendly, like, stone to place on top of them, and they cruise around looking for the best landing spot. And then you have the random, like the people that are floating out in the asteroid belt, praying that someone selects them. And it is difficult to break in, especially, let's take a guy, Afromoosh, who I've always thought was talented and had potential. I thought about playing with him back at like TI 6-7 era. He's from Jordan. Never met him. Don't know if I could get him a visa. To pick up this player and put him on my team requires like a month-and-a-half commitment where he's getting a visa and I can't play with him. Or I like fly him to Europe and I get someone to fly me and my whole team to Europe. Like, it's something that the fans don't really see as a consideration, but it really does matter. And that's partly why you have these incredible players from Lebanon and from Jordan that break into the scene. Like, think of every pro player. You got GH, Miracle, Yapzor.
Yep.
They're all incredible. Why aren't more players coming out of this region, right? If they're like the tippity top, it's because in order to make it onto a team, you've got to have so much raw talent that
you need to already stand out. You need to be exceptional.
You need to stand out, be above the people that stand out, because otherwise the difficulties of playing together will prevent you from choosing this person over an option that looks just as good, but with a far easier setup time.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I think shuffles are tricky, and there's a lot of things that people don't normally consider, like that.
Yeah.
Like geolocation actually makes a difference. It really makes
a huge difference. And culture too, you know. Yeah. You don't know, like, part of the reason, like, I want to, actually, never mind. I was going to share, there are personal reasons players might choose a region other than their own, or a preference to stay in their own region. There's people that have, this is a family, people are growing up. There's people with wives and children, you know. This is not the same game it used to be. And that's partly why I think there's a little bit more stability at the higher rungs of the game, not just in the roster, but in geolocation, in practice schedules. You have teams taking breaks and not wanting to necessarily commit hard for the entire season, because Lord knows it's been years of this. You need a break.
Yep, you do. Any final words on shuffles and what it takes to make a good team?
I feel like I already said enough.
Okay.
You should.
Well, my closing thoughts on this topic is that you have to be able to compartmentalize, if that's a word. That's a word.
Ooh.
Because you have to, as you said, not just as a captain, but just as a player, you have to believe and give it your all with the team that you're at can win TI, and together you're gonna make it. You have to put in the effort to grow together and get better together, and basically focus on you as a team, because it's a team that's successful, not as you as an individual player. But at the same time, you can be competitors of each other in like a split second, and you need to be able to make that switch without mentally going under.
Yeah. Okay, and to add on to that, the word I would use is doublethink.
Yeah.
Which is stolen from the novel 1984, and it means the ability to hold two opposing ideas in your head at the same time and believe them. And I personally use it in my own life, and to extend upon what you're saying, as people, as a human, you need to, on one hand, believe that you are capable of achieving anything. You are amazing and special, and you're gonna kick ass.
You're gonna do it.
And on the other hand, you'll never be the best version of yourself. You can always do more with your time. You're always gonna have flaws, and you're never going to be fully actualized,
But
right?
you gotta accept that part of yourself too.
Exactly. You gotta accept both.
Yes.
You can be better, but you're already the best.
Be better, but be happy with where you are right now as well. All right, that is it for this episode.
Yeah, but
of
great
AnecDotes.
word though. Compartmentalization is something we actually.
Compartmentalization.
We're gonna go long, but yes, that's a great word and a great way to phrase. There's like books written on the topic and how to properly separate different aspects of your life. Anyway, thanks, Sheeves.
Thank you. We'll see you in the next episode.